Welcome to the RotoWire live stream. Start set for week 2. All right. So first of all, AJ Brown game time decision on Monday night. That's a tough scenario for people. I keep saying a pivot would possibly be if Jahan Dotson happens to be on your waiver wire. He would see probably a full snap share should Brown miss. If you want some PPR appeal, Ray McLeod could be on the waiver wire in many leagues. Those would be pivots if you need to start AJ Brown. If you somehow have a top 30-ish player at a position, running back or receiver, you could just be safe and put them in. But if you need the potential upside of AJ Brown, then it could be gamesmanship. It's very hard to know what actually is happening here. All right, we will take questions with 11 or 45 Central, 12:45 Eastern, and we will have to go through these and get everybody set up for game day. All right, so we start out here. Trey, all right, full PPR. Mason, Kirk, Brown, Williams, Hubbard, and Ford. You know, it's real hard to sit Jordan Mason at this point. He's going to get a full workload here. 49ers playing Minnesota. Don't see them as a problem against the run. At that point, between Kirk and Jameson Williams, real hard to sit Jameson Williams right now. He's cleared to play. We saw his role last week. The matchup against Tampa is beautiful. They really are struggling in the secondary. I'm just going to go with Williams and Mason. If you want if you want a high floor over Williams as your second play, it would be Jerome Ford in your PPR league. Kirk, we got to see another week on him. Wasn't so hot last week, but that'd be the way we go there. In half PPR, DeMarcus, Christian Watson, Hubbard, or Alexander Madison. Madison's risky, but I think if they're going to trail like the point spread says, they could be throwing a lot, which means Madison is probably the third down or the hurry up back. Robinson has a floor. He could score a touchdown, 40% chance. I think the safest play out of these realistically would be Robinson for that floor. I think Madison has boom bust potential. So Demarcus Robinson would actually be my play out of this. And Watson is going to be hard to trust him with this quarterback situation. All right, ETN or Charbonneau. That's a tough one. ETN is playing Cleveland. We don't like the fact that he split work last week. Charbonnet is probably going to see more work than ETN, but ETN is clearly the better player, better in the receiving game. You know what? I'm going to go with ETN because I think the upside is better. Charbonnet is playing New England. New England was not good against the run last week, but they typically are a good run defense. I'm going to defer to the better player here. Eric, all right, half PPR. Ford or Brian Robinson Jr. Ford's going to see receiving and running work. Robinson looks good, but he's going to be sharing work. Of course, the game with New York could be close, so he could be involved throughout the entire game. I'm going to give Ford the edge here, and then against Jacksonville, I think the receiving game, I think Ford probably catches 4 passes here, and your half PPR, it probably gives you a little edge over Robinson. Ford doesn't really have a lot of competition either. AJ Brown, if AJ Brown doesn't go, I'm going to go with Dotson there because Dotson should go into a full snap share at that point. And I don't see Atlanta giving a lot of problem to Jalen Hurts. McLeod certainly could get some PPR love, but Dotson in a full-time role in that offense, they're not going to be able to focus on him. So I would go with Dotson in that scenario. Ethan, good morning. Flex, one running back, 2 flex. Zamir, Madison, Brown, McConkey, Myers, Dowdle, and Irving. So what I'll say is about White and Madison. If you believe like I that Baltimore is going to get a big lead in this game, then you got to go with Madison over White. If you think the Raiders are going to be hanging and keep this game close, then you would give White the edge. I think they're going to trail in big in this game. So I would give Madison the edge here. After that, McConkey saw a good target share, so I would use him as the flex in that one. I imagine even though they're playing Carolina, they're going to throw some, so they would need him there. Chase Brown didn't get a lot of work, so we kind of got to discount him at this point till we see more work. Dowdle kind of empty calories, no goal line work. Irving, it's a terrible, terrible, terrible matchup. So I'm going to go with Jacoby. Well, you need 2. So I'd use Myers and McConkey as the flex. And again, I would lean toward Madison over White unless you think that game is closer than Vegas does. Richardson or Goff, I can't sit Richardson. The rushing floor is too good. I mean, we saw in 19 passes, he blew up last week. So I just think Goff's going to shoot out, but Richardson's going to run. And I mean, it's just, if you drafted Richardson, you drafted him to play him because he has access to a 30-point game. He definitely does that. So I would just play Richardson and call it a day because that running floor. Parkinson or Freiermuth, Parkinson had targets last week, but realistically, even when Tyler Higbee was a tight end, you never knew when those were coming week to week. So I think you can't really bank on that so much. So I think Freiermuth, again, the number 2 option in the offense, last week didn't really do a lot, but I do think this week you have the possibility of Freiermuth having significant work against Denver. I do think he has an advantage there. They might need him a bit. So I'm going to lean Freiermuth there. Shaheed, Keenan Allen, or Zach Moss. So Keenan Allen, the last report is he'll be very limited. He looked terrible on that heel last week. I saw him limping, so I'm going to leave him out here. I do think Zach Moss is your floor play here. Kansas City does struggle to stop the run, and I do know that we'll see Cincinnati lean into that a little bit as long as they can. Shaheed is your boom bust guy. They're playing Dallas, and last week he got the big play, but that pass rush is coming. Man, those big plays may not materialize. So Rashid is your low floor of high ceiling. If he breaks that 60-yard touchdown, you got it. Moss is your safe play, or I would probably land myself. All right, Jay, Murray or Burrow? Gotta go Murray. Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. If you guys are out there, can hit the like and subscribe button. I would certainly appreciate that. So, Jay, I'm going to go with Murray here. I expect a shootout. Last week was a weird game. Buffalo was a good defense, and they were in Buffalo. But the Rams, I really shouldn't put up much resistance here. Burrow, look, right now, just things don't look good in Cincy, and Kansas City's an elite defense. So, I just take Murray and call it a day. Volmaniac, I appreciate you. Pitts or Freiermuth? Yeah, I get the appeal there. And I don't like what Kirk Cousins did. But that said, Philly is very weak in the middle of the field, and that's where Cousins is going to probably have to throw up the pressure's coming, and he should be able to. I'm not going to bench Pitts at this point. I do like Freiermuth's matchup, but I'm going to give Pitts the edge here. I have Pitts ahead of Freiermuth by a couple spots in the rankings too. So this week, Kansas City defense or New England or Washington. I'm probably going to go with Kansas City here. I know it's Joe Burrow and all that, but I do think that the Burrow's going to be trailing a lot here, and it could be problematic. Washington, they really don't have players, and New England, they're playing Seattle. I think Seattle gets enough done. I don't know if New England can pressure the passer, so I'm going to go with Kansas City. Chris Jones might be able to wreck the game. Rahendra, full point PPR, need a receiver and a flex. Harrison, Neighbors, Metcalf, McLaurin, Dobbins. All right, so Harrison had the rough one last week. At least the matchup this week is a lot better. There's that. I think Neighbors goes off here. They got him targets last week. He has facing an easy cornerback room. I think they get him going here. Metcalf has another brutal matchup here. He's going to probably see Christian Gonzalez a lot. McLaurin, look, they took one deep shot. They don't even throw to the receivers much. They throw to the running backs and tight ends. So right now, until we see McLaurin do something, we got to really fade him, I think. I think Dobbins has an easy matchup here. Derek Brown, the defensive end stud player for the Panthers, is out for the season. I'm going to go with Neighbors and Dobbins here. But I will say this. If you want to go, like Dobbins is a higher floor than Harrison, but Harrison could go off here. If you drafted Harrison high, you would probably, if you're going to kick yourself if Harrison goes off on your bench, just make it Neighbors and Harrison, but the safe floor would probably be Dobbins. All right, Jay, I think we went over that. Good. We're good there. Yeah, we're good there. Mac, appreciate you listening to XM. It means a lot. Yeah, 2 to 4 Eastern on Saturdays and 9 to 10 Eastern on Sundays. Appreciate you watching. Enjoy it. Aaron Jones, Jaleel McLaughlin, Jalen Warren. No need to sit Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones looks great. Runner, receiver, going to be very involved in this offense. I don't see anything. San Francisco, yeah, I know they did great against the Jets last week, but overall, I do think that Aaron Jones gets enough done here. Warren was eased back. I don't know that he's fully ready. McLaughlin's in a timeshare, and as a receiver, he did nothing. Jones has a better chance of scoring a touchdown than the other two. Receivers, Harrison, DJ Moore, Diggs, and Brian Robinson. I think I mean Brian Thomas, probably. DJ Moore is tough to sit right now. DJ Moore is still a superstar receiver. I know that they didn't get it done last week, but it's a different pressure scheme that Caleb Williams. I'm going to go DJ Moore there for sure. Diggs is going to be your floor play as your number 2 because he's a big red zone option and he's getting targets. Harrison is your boom bust guy because he would have more upside than Diggs if they get him going, and I think they will this week. But if you want safe, it'll be Diggs. If you're willing to take a little bit of a risk, I think Harrison could have a big game for you. Oh, what just happened here? Oh, I popped the question off. That's what I did. All right, where are we at here? Give me a second to get back to this. Question came off the screen on me. So I got to figure out where I'm at here. All right, got that one. Yeah, it's just taking me a second here. There we go. B. Ollie. You have AJ Brown, you have Worthy and Dotson. Thoughts? You know what? Since you have Dotson, just make it easy. Go to game time with it. If AJ Brown plays, you play him. If not, Dotson. Worthy had 3 touches last week? Perfectly blocked end around. Nobody touched him. Broken coverage on a touchdown. There was that. Can it happen again? Yes. Touch counts low. So I would just go to the Dotson Brown route. Got somebody that paid up for a super chat question. OG Bobby. OG, you got Charbonnet or Ford? So in this one, I got them right next to each other in my rankings. I think you'll see that there. I've got Ford at 21 and Charbonnet at 22. So you talk about the ultimate coin flip here. In terms of game script, I imagine Ford sees more screen passes here, and I think that would give him a little bit of an edge in PPR. So I have him a slight bit ahead. Charbonnet should see work. New England didn't play great against the run last week, but that doesn't mean they won't be better this week. They typically are a really good defense against the run. Charbonnet had a couple starts last year against good run defenses and didn't do great. I'm giving Ford the edge because of his use as a receiver. Is pretty bankable there. But again, you see my rankings. It's a complete coin flip. So if you got a gut feel, go with it. But I do give Ford the slight edge. All right, let's see what we got here next. Charbonnet or McLaurin? Going Charbonnet here. You heard me talk about McLaurin earlier. Just one downfield throw, and it was like overthrown, and they just throw to their running backs and receivers. It's a super safe offense, and that's not good for McLaurin. Charbonnet has a real high floor, and you got to bank that here, I think. Henry, Murray, or Daniels? Oh, man, it's a tough one. Daniels had the 16 for 88 and 2 touchdowns on the ground. They were trailing last week. Murray should be in the shootout here against the Rams. I have Murray ahead in my rankings. So here I have Murray at number 5. I have Daniels at number 7. So it is pretty close here. But I do think the shootout element, and they get their passing game on track a little bit here. So I would give Murray the edge there. Again, these are my rankings. Is pretty close on those two, as you understand, obviously. I think both have reasonable upside here as well. George. Here, full point PPR, 2, Mixon, Connor, Ramondre. So I'm going to go Mixon and Connor here. Ramondre was great last week. I kind of called that one out because the matchup was phenomenal. This week, Seattle looked really, really good against the run last week against Denver. And I do think that's going to kind of stick there. I do think they're a good run defense. They're very aggressive. And I think that nobody's taking the passing game seriously from New England. So I'm going to go with Mixon and Connor. Forrest, Mayfield, or Prescott? Look, I do love Mayfield this week, but I got Dak as my number 6 quarterback. Marshawn Lattimore is gimpy on a hammy, but CeeDee Lamb's going to go in the slot anyway and probably go off. And I don't like that Ferguson's out, but I do think that Dallas has their way. And Dallas isn't a good running team, so they're going to, like last year, they're going to have to lean on the pass. And New Orleans doesn't really have a good pass rush, so that emerging offensive line doesn't really have too much of a problem here. They both are great plays. Mayfield could go off here. I think Prescott has a safer floor than Mayfield, and that's why I'll go with Prescott. I have him ranked a little higher. Both have similar upside. All right, Sarah Densmore, Ford or Robinson? So Ford again with that receiving use. I have Ford as my number 21 running back. Robinson my number 24. So you ask a great question because obviously I see it the same way. They're very, very close. Again, Ford should see more work in the passing game. Robinson splitting a little bit, especially the passing down work, although Robinson was involved as a receiver last week, so there was that. But I'm going to give Ford the edge here. And I think this game with the Giants, I think they're going to be able to pass regularly away from the running backs a little bit more against the Giants than they did against Tampa, who blitzes a lot. All right. That Tampa matchup was last week, of course. Tom, your bench is going to be a long-term stash for McCaffrey. Well, if Isaac Guerrero is out there from the 49ers, he was like, what is he, a 4th-round draft pick? And he's electric. And if he's healthy, I mean, why, if he gets an opportunity to work in with Mason, and who knows, Mason could miss time. So I think that's a good long-term stash if he's out there. Sagar, good to see you. Mason, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry. Well, Breece Hall's automatic and auto start. Every week I'll have him as the running back, one unless there's a compelling reason not to. I have Derrick Henry a couple spots ahead of Jordan Mason, but look, what we saw last week should be very concerning, how they put 2 receiving tight ends on the field. They have 3 new linemen, but they're playing the Raiders. So Henry should get going here. They should have a lead. They should be able to lean on Henry. So I do have Hall and Henry, but you certainly can make a case for Mason over Henry. But if you're worried about Henry from last week, you could do it. I'm going to go with the 2 stars here. And Mason had a lot of work, and it's a short week. I don't know how he comes back from 28 carries on a short week. Maybe he's fine, but I'll go with the 2 superstars here. Randy, good morning. Would I go with the Browns or the Colts defense? I know in theory the Colts look good, right? Because they're playing Malik Willis, and there's that. And I really don't know what their game plan is going to be. They're going to try to do a lot of gimmicky stuff underneath. I don't know how much they put it in Willis's hands. And then the Browns, of course, played bad last week, but I like the upside of the playmaking Browns. I do think they get their pass rush on track. It's a 50-50 coin flip on it, but I'm going to go with the better defense here, the playmaking defense, because sometimes when these defenses like the Colts play a team that's like injured, they come out flat. I'm going to go with the Browns and see if they can get them back on track, even though they're on the road to Jacksonville. Shookson. You need serious upside PPR. Chase, Godwin, Devontae Smith, Neighbors, and Worthy, and you need 3. I mean, they all have upside, certainly. It's really impossible to bench Chase because Chase is the game breaker of game breakers, and they certainly will try to get him the ball. So you got to go with him. Devontae Smith, heavy in the slot last week, which was great for him. I think Neighbors has massive upside here because he had 7 targets last week, looked good, but the defense this week is terrible. Washington. So Chase and Neighbors for sure. Number 3, I'm going to give Godwin the edge over Smith here. They're running like running a Ram style offense in Tampa. Godwin was wide open much of the day, and they're playing Detroit. So I'm going to go with those 3. Worthy just doesn't get enough targets. Like you say, he had 2 touchdowns on 3 touches, but busted coverage on a pass and perfectly blocked end around. So it's not enough touches. I think I answered that one already for that one. All right, good. Dude Love, Stafford or Mayfield. I got them close in my rankings. I got Stafford at 8 and I got Mayfield at 10. Both are in great spots here. It's very hard to say one is better than the other. Both should be shootouts. Both have compromised defenses. So I do have Stafford ahead in my rankings. So I'm going to go with Stafford here. But again, if you got a gut feel, they're very close to my ranking, so it makes sense either way. Receivers, Neighbors, Ayuk, Olave, McLaurin, or Harrison. You heard me talk about McLaurin earlier. Just until we see something in the passing game work, that's fine. So that leaves us with rule out one more. So we rule out McLaurin. Got to go with Neighbors. Ayuk is now going to be back in the fold after getting acclimated back last week, so you can't really sit him. Leaves you between Olave and Harrison. Both had bad weeks last week. Olave, the only thing I worry about is Dallas's pass rush could be really overwhelming. But they did use play action. He could be involved. Harrison did nothing. You'd think they try to get him on track here. In my rankings, tell you where I have him. I do have Olave ahead, though. I have Olave at 15, and I got Harrison at 20. I do think Olave gets some more underneath of play action, so I'm going to give Olave the edge there. Robert, half PPR, DK or Scary Terry. Well, like you heard me talk about McLaurin, they just don't really work the offense right now to the receivers. Maybe that changes, but right from what I saw, not so much. DK doesn't have a great matchup, but he's DK Metcalf, and they'll get him the ball, and I'm going to bet on DK there. London or Collins? Yeah, tough call there. I have Nico Collins as my 10. I have London at my 12. Nico Collins is tough to go against, especially after London had the bad game, and Kirk Cousins didn't look good, and maybe he gets on track this week, but basically Collins has Stroud. And so I'm going to trust the quarterback. And I'm not worried about Jalen Johnson. Nico Collins is literally that guy. He is that alpha receiver, and he's big, he's fast, he's strong, and he's schemed up. So I'm going to go with him. Let's see here. Next one. Terminal sarcasm. Take one out. Mason, Kyron, or Dobbins. I'm probably going to take Dobbins out in this one. Dobbins has a better matchup, but Kyron Williams had extreme usage, which was great. Dobbins didn't. The offensive line's ding, but Kyron blew up against Arizona last year. And then Mason right now, it's going to be very tough to sit him in a situation like this. I don't know if he has the same workload as last week, but we know that offense clicks on all cylinders, and the passing game is what the defense has to worry about. So I'd say Dobbins here. They all have upside, certainly. Alex Ford or Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to go with Harris. Well, if you want a super, super safe floor, you can go with Ford because Ford's going to get you a guaranteed standard. He's going to get you a guaranteed, 6 or 7. And if Harrison lays the egg like last week, you don't have, but I think Harrison, they're going to get him involved. And there's nothing scary about the Rams defense. Darius Williams, their best corners on IR. So I do think they get him going. They can't not get their number one guy going, right? You'd have to think they're going to try to involve him. So yeah, if you want the super safe floor, though, it is Ford, but I think Harrison's going to be just fine this week. Delroy, start 3. St. Brown, DJ Moore, Drake London, Zay Flowers, Wandale Robinson, JSN starting three. You know what? We're going to go with the 3-star players here. We're going to go with St. Brown, DJ Moore, and Drake London. And we talked about Drake London before, but I still think they're going to get him back involved. Flowers, again, as to how much they'll need him against the Raiders, that could be it. Wandale, this week is probably more the neighbors show because there won't be the same pressure as last week. And Smith and Jigba just did very little last week. Love his slot role, but just go with this 3 stars here. Alex, Pickens or Reed's a tough one. Pickens has that matchup. And Denver, last week they put Patrick Surtain on DK Metcalf almost every receiving route. If they do that this week, Justin Fields not going to have a window to throw into, and he might be nervous about it. Reed's a little bit dinged up with a calf. We don't know how serious it is, but it sounds like he's set to go. So the Reed's the one guy I think might be impervious to his quarterback because they'll get him gadgeted up on some toss sweeps and some screens and things. So Reed, I think, is a higher floor. I don't know how much upside he has. So I think Pickens is your boom bust guy, but Reed probably has a better floor because they're going to find a creative way to get him involved despite the bad quarterback. Eric. All right. Yep. Need a win this week, but last week didn't go. So that's all right. You'll get a win this week. Week 1 was weird. Week 1 is very weird. Vinny, Olave or Ayuk. You know, like I said, you hear me talking about Olave. I have them next to each other in my rankings at Ayuk 14 and Olave 15. You'll see that if you can read the sheet. I don't know how big it shows up on your guys' screens out there. But I do think Ayuk gets more acclimated in this week. And I think with Minnesota, they really don't have the type of corner to deal with. Shaq Griffin, not really the same stylistic matchup. Certainly not. Stephon Gilmore's a physical guy. Ayuk just kind of get ahead of that. Olave could be prone to Carr being under pressure from Dallas. So I'll give Ayuk the nod here. Cooks, London or Montgomery. Again, you drafted London probably the first, second round. I know last week was bad. I do think they find a way to get him involved this week. I'm not going to overthink it. I like Montgomery's floor. Montgomery does have the best floor of these. There's no question. His floor is great. But I think London has a reasonable floor, and he has some real potential for ceiling in this game as well. So I'm going to go London again. If you want super safe floor, Montgomery makes sense. Yeah, Terminal Sarcasm appreciates you. Yeah, thank you. Please hit the like button, subscribe. I'd appreciate it greatly. If you can give me a follow on the X at Jim Coventry NFL, I'd appreciate that greatly as well. Try to put myself up there as well. All right, Big Beach, half PPR, Ingram or Likely. So it's a tough one here. I look, the 12 targets of last week for Likely were beautiful, and maybe it continues, but to go 12-2 on those targets, and basically Kansas City gave them everything underneath. They gave them Justice Hill, they gave them Likely, and they said, go ahead, you want to beat us there? God bless you, because you're not running Derrick Henry down our throats. If they play with a lead in this game, it could be the Derrick Henry show. Ingram, I know, was bad last week. I know. But Jacksonville, not worried about that coverage. They're down. All 3 of their free safeties are out. And that's kind of where Ingram would kind of eat a bit. I'm going to give Ingram the edge here. Robert, we're going to go Ingram over Parkinson. I just talked about Ingram a bit. Parkinson is back to the Tyler Higbee days. The targets were nice last week, but with Higbee, he'd get the targets, then he wouldn't. And of course, they love Higbee a lot. And if Parkinson's not Higbee. And so I think this will be the same thing. I think at least Ingram is a documented part of that consistent offensive attack. And I know last week stunk. Pickens or Reed, Alex, somebody else asked that question, maybe. So I answered that for somebody else. You probably just heard me a minute ago, so we're good. Godly men in training. That's what Pollard or Thomas Jr. Look, Pollard had a good snapshot, 52%. He had quite a few touches last week. I think his floor is good. Thomas worries me against Cleveland a little bit. Cleveland's going to get some heat, and they do have good corners. Denzel Ward probably sees a good bit of Thomas. I don't like that matchup. I'm going to give Pollard the edge here for floor and ceiling. JKM, happy game day to you as well. You would wait neighbors to wide receiver from flex with AJ Brown. Non-PPR, would I flex? Tank Dell, Singletary, Moss, Amir White, or cut one. Hard to cut any of those guys. They're all going to have their set of usefulness. So I don't think it's worth that because, hey, Dotson could get 3 for 30, and then they probably didn't get you enough to go with. You know what? Tank Dell should be in a good shape against the Bears here because if Dell ends up drawing like the third corner, like Gordon, it's a good day for Dell. I don't think we're going to see Jalen Johnson on him much. Dell will play in the slot quite a bit as well. So I'm just going to say I'm going to go Dell. Dell should have. And Moss is a better floor play than Dell, but Dell doesn't have a bad floor. And Dell has more ceiling than Moss. Moss is going to get some work done against Kansas City. That's kind of the way I'd roll with that. Vinny, Madison, or Javante. Everybody's down on Javante, and I get it. It makes it. They were rotating backs, and it wasn't even like a series and a series. It was like a couple carries here, and then this guy's, and it was just dumb. Give him series. They didn't. But that said, Javante Williams they're playing Pittsburgh, and Bo Nix is going to be under a crap ton of pressure. Well, he's going to have to dump the ball off. And we know Sean Payton loves scheduling screens up to his running backs. I'm going to go with the better player. I'm going to go Javante. Javante started out that game well. He ran hot. And then Seattle's defense really, really played well last week. I'm going to credit Seattle's defense, and I'm not going to ding Javante Williams because that defense played great last week. I'm giving Javante the edge here. I do like Madison, though. Do like Madison this week because they're going to trail and he's going to get some targets. Kirk Johansson, Christian Kirk, Jameson Williams, or Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is very, very limited. He's not expected to play a full snap share. Looked terrible on the heel last week. I'm giving Jameson Williams the edge. He's healthy enough to play. I give him the floor. I give him the upside. He really, really looks good. And that gets carryover from late last season, and they're really trying to involve him. Kirk's always a great play, but Jameson Williams looks to be a player that's really on the come right now. So I would definitely go Jameson Williams there. Kirk's a reasonable option, of course. Julian Ortiz, Lockett or McLaurin. Lockett had a really good game last week because they basically took away DK Metcalf, which really, really helped a lot. And then they weren't throwing to the slot at all. McLaurin, like I said earlier, they just don't throw it out. They did one deep pass. It wasn't close, but it was like funnel to running backs and tight ends. I'm going to give Lockett the edge for floor in this game against New England because, again, he probably draws a more favorable matchup. It might be like last week where DK is going to get a lot of Christian Gonzalez. So I'm going to give Lockett the edge here. Delroy, Swift, or Singletary. I'm going to give Swift the edge here. I think the Bears are going to trail Houston a little bit here, and I think they might have to do a little bit more screen passes than otherwise. So I'm going to give the edge to Swift for that reason. Big Meech, half PPR, Madison, Bigsby, or Warren. I like Madison here. I think they're going to trail their double-digit underdogs. The Raiders are, and that means last week he was like 60% of the snap, 63 maybe, and he got like 6 targets. And I think that's going to kind of be the norm when they're trailing. So I'm going to give Madison the edge here. Warren, I got to see him go up to a full snap share before I trust him over him. DK or AJ Brown? You know what? With AJ Brown being a game time decision, it's not worth it. Roll with DK. I know he's got a tough matchup, probably a lot of Christian Gonzalez. I don't think he necessarily shadows him, but he'll see a lot of them. But that said, AJ Brown, he might not play. So it's not worth it. You got a good option, go with it. All right. Next one. Fludge 8S. Looking to start 2. Warren, Javante, and McLaughlin. Oh, it's tough with Javante and McLaughlin. McLaughlin had more touches last week. Javante had more snaps. It's a rough one there. And then Jaylen Warren, again, we don't really know how much you're going to commit to him yet. Because last week it wasn't a lot. Was it due to the injury? Was it due to Najee fits the scheme better? So I think Warren adds a level of risk, but starting 2 running backs in the same team. So I would diversify because the odds of both of them getting it done are small. But if we see Warren a little more involved this week, then that kind of bodes well. And Denver's not a bad matchup. So I think Warren plays a little more this week. I'm going to go with Warren and Javante over McLaughlin, even though McLaughlin had more touches. Again, it was a weird game last week. Hugo, Neighbors or Charbonnet? I got to go with Neighbors here. Yeah, Charbonnet starting, and that's the nice thing. But Neighbors, 7 targets. I was like, the matchup is beautiful this week. Look, you drafted Neighbors. You drafted him pretty high. You expected a lot out of him, and this is the week I think he cashes for. He did well last week. This matchup is so much better. Shookson, DJ Moore or Zay. I don't want DJ Moore here. Again, I don't really like what I saw last week out of the quarterback, Caleb Williams, but a lot of simulated pressures from the Titans. I was surprised they were able to pull it off in week 1 with a new coaching staff. But, that said, DJ Moore is Keenan Allen's limited, and we saw he's getting targets. Zay Flowers, if the Ravens get a lead, they might lean on the run. Give me the superstar and DJ Moore. All right, Jay, 12, PPR, 12-man. AJ Brown or start McLaurin. I'm going to go Jameson Williams there. Jameson Williams. Again, I believe he's a real part of this offense right now. And with that, knowing that, I think that's a big deal. Knowing he's a big part of that offense. So I'm going to go with him, and I'm not going to take the chance on A.J. Brown being inactive. Can't really have that, 0 hurts. Jake Ferguson obviously will not play. That was just reported through Jane Slater, and I'm not sure where Jane Slater, but obviously a reporter. So, yeah, Jane Slater reports Ferguson is out. We knew that. He was doubtful. All right, Eric. Drake, Neighbors, DeMarcus Robinson, Harrison, or Jameson Williams. Robinson's not a ceiling play. He play a snap, but he's normally he's touchdown. If he gets a touchdown, he'll get you like 12 fantasy points. But if he doesn't, he'll get you, well, he'll get 14 if he scores a touchdown. Usually get you about 8, and that's about it. Got to go with the upside of neighbors. Drake London, I assume you mean there. You can't bench him after 1 week. I know it's bad, but you can't bench. You got the first round pick on him. He's super talented. You had to think they figured some things out. And then between Marvin Harrison and Jamison Williams, look, since you have such a great option in Williams, who's really an emerging star, I'm going to give him the edge over Harrison until Harrison gets it done for me because Williams has real upside. We saw them, you really utilize him. So I'm going to give Harrison another week since you have the luxury of having an excellent option. Colin, Shallow League, 2-2-1. You need 5 of these guys. You got a whole bunch of names on here. So Bijan for sure. Garrett Wilson for sure. Nico Collins for sure. DJ Moore is your flex. James Conner. So yeah, it's Bijan and Conner. It's Wilson, Nico, and DJ Moore. All of those players have phenomenal floor and ceiling. Josh Jacobs probably going to see a lot of stacked box in this one. Tony Pollard splits work a little too much. Zeke splits work. McConkey, I don't know the upsides there. So, yeah, that's the way to go on that one. I think we answered that one. Yeah, Godly Money Train, thank you. Anybody who's out there, if I didn't get your question, I will get to it. It's just got to get through the whole list of these, depending when you put it in. That's when I get to it. Oh, there are I got some super chat questions I got to answer. Anybody who pays up for one, I'm on the hook to answer those right away. So that's a super chat thing. I don't even know how that works, quite honestly. Shadow, I'll get back to your question in a moment. Eric, you PPR need 3. Oh, I think we answered that one for you. So, yeah, I think we broke that down. I think you asked me on the other 4, so thank you. So, we were going Neighbors, London, and Jamison Williams, and we're going to wait a bit on Harrison since you have such a great option. A great question. I'm glad you asked that in both formats. Thank you. And then you asked me to Charbonnet or Ford one. OG Bobby. I think we got OG Bobby earlier. Yeah, we went with Ford by a razor thin. And then next one, McLaurin, Jaden Reed, or Brian Thomas Jr. Again, I think Jaden Reed gets gadgeted up quite a bit, and I think he's kind of in good shape. McLaurin, had too many passes to tight ends and running backs last week. The one deep shot didn't come close. So I'm not going to take a shot at McLaurin until I see him have success with his quarterback. Brian Thomas Jr., he's going to see Denzel Ward, maybe some Martin Emerson. Those are bad matchups, and that pass rush is serious for the Browns. I'm going to give Jaden Reed the shot, even though he's not maybe quite 100%. And Thomas C., thank you very much. Appreciate you. Thanks for those that are using the super chat function. All right, let's get back so I can find my spot where I was at here. Oh, this is always a tough one, finding where I was at. Oh, here we go. Shadow G. Yep, there we go. Ayuk or Neighbors. That's tough to go wrong here. I do have Ayuk ranked 14. Neighbors is at 23. I should have moved him up in my rankings. I probably should have moved him up to 21. Actually, I should have moved him ahead of Pittman. I do these, the ones I do in this document, I do them a little bit earlier because I got work I'm doing. But I'm going to go with Ayuk here. Ayuk should be fully back, and the corners are more physical, and he's more of a guy that he has schemed into avoiding that stuff. So, yeah, we're going to go with Ayuk here. But Neighbors is a great play too. But I give Ayuk the brief edge. If you like Neighbors, don't feel bad about starting him because he could have a big game as well here. All right. Terminal Sarcasm, Reed, Michael, Wilson, McLaughlin, or JSN. Another tough one. Wilson didn't get enough targets. He had one catch last week. McLaughlin didn't do anything as a receiver. He had some touches. I like JSN here. I do like JSN here. 90% in the slot last week. Against New England, I think that's a great place to attack him. He has the best matchup of the 3 receivers, I think. So I'm going to give JSN the edge here. And JSN played a heavy snap share too. I remember the percentage off the top of my head. I want to say it was 90, but I could be wrong. And it was a lot. He played a lot. We played 90 in the slot, but he played most of it. I think he played more than the other guys. All right, JKM, Tank Dell. I'm going to go Tank Dell here. Jaden Reed less than 100%, so we'll give Tank Dell the edger. He's seeing similar targets with Diggs and Nico Collins, and the Bears probably don't have the depth to deal with all 3 receivers there. George, that's a tough one. Aaron Jones and Connor. Anytime somebody asks a James Conner question, it's always a tough one. I have Aaron Jones at 11. I have Connor at 15. I think Connor has more upside, though. I think Connor has more upside here. So I think Aaron Jones is going to see some catches here, which is going to help him. So I think Jones is a better floor play. I have him higher. I think if you want the upside, I think Connor is real upside. Connor could go off here, but Jones is a steadier play in terms of floor. Both are good plays, obviously. Alberto, you have Keenan Allen or wait to go with Keenan Allen. The reports that I have, and who are they from? I can find that on here pretty quick, or maybe I can't. Reports this morning came out that it is not likely he's seeing anything close to a full snap share. He didn't look good on that heel. So right now, I'm going to go with Zach Moss. Zach Moss, they will try to run the ball against Kansas City. Moss was 9 for 44 and a touchdown last week. Singletary, the toughest place to run on Washington, the only thing Washington can do, they've been 2 interior tackles that are very good defensively. And I think that works against Singletary. Palmer's not 100%, so I don't want to take the chance. We'll go with Moss. Dragonfire. For your PPR league, you need tight end, Hurst, Ertz, Juwan, Fant, Conklin, or Hunter Henry. I like Hunter Henry this week. I have Hunter Henry as my 11th tight end. Seattle, I think that might be a little bit of an area to attack their defense. Their corners are good, but I think the middle of the field is where you probably want to get after them. I'd give Hunter Henry the edge here. Kelsey or Brock Bowers? Oh, good question. And Bowers had a great first week, but I can't sit Kelsey. Look, Kelsey played, top of my head, 80-something% of the snaps, so he's not being rested. Kansas City and Baltimore played last week. Baltimore got torched in the playoff game. They defended him well last week. I just have to think Travis Kelsey comes back here. Cincinnati doesn't really have anybody to deal with him. The safeties don't scare me. The linebackers and coverage don't. Bowers is great. But let's just go with Kelsey here and just trust the superstar gets back on track. Moss or Brian Thomas? I think Moss has more floor here. I mentioned earlier, you heard me talk about Brian Thomas. That Cleveland matchup worries me. Those are good corners and it's good pass rush. Moss should have a floor here for you. Worthy, Brian Robinson or Flowers PPR flex. Robinson has the best floor of this group here. Giants shouldn't be able to slow him down a whole lot. So Robinson has a very, very nice floor. Flowers is interesting because if they get a good lead on the Raiders early, they might lean into the run game and not really need to throw a lot. They probably also want to get Mark Andrews back on track. Worthy, his 3 touches last week, 2 touchdowns, blown coverage on a pass, perfectly blocked end around. Worthy's your shoot for the moon play. He is because that speed is insane what he has, but his touches are low. So he's your boom bust. Brian Robinson is your safe play, I think, here. Forrest, as a starter, he's Mooney or Shakir. Shakir played Thursday night, so we're good on that one. Is a Vikings run defense top 5? I don't think so. I think that when we look at the Vikings, they're going to be a blitz heavy team. Ivan Pace is really good at linebacker. The defensive line is good enough, but they're not. I don't think there's anything that tells me that this defense is going to be anything like lights out against the run. And with the 49ers, honestly, the Jets are a good run defense. They got mauled. They got manhandled. So the 49ers should have, if they choose to run the ball, and Dominic Pooney, the right guard they drafted, he looked good. He looked good in camp, and he looked good last week. So, man, the 49ers win again. No reason to worry about Jordan Mason here. Will he have last week's game? Probably not. But can he get 100 scrimmage yards? Sure. And I got him ranked at with number 6 at running back. So, yeah, I'm not worried. Good question. Trevor, injury bug. Yeah, no doubt. Dowdle, Palmer, or Downs. Downs is a true game time decision, meaning he's probably not quite 100%. Who knows if his snaps are a little limited if he plays. Dowdle doesn't get goal line. He did get a target last week. In this trio, I would play Palmer, who's good to go, because even though they probably get a lead on Carolina, I think they'll throw some. And Palmer had a bad first week. He had a drop. He could have had a touchdown. But I'm going to go back with Palmer here. But in terms of your AJ Brown over those 3, I would hold on to Ray McLeod. And then if Brown plays, because those 3 options, they're all very limited. So I would go with AJ Brown and then use Ray McLeod if you have to. Why Prescott over Goff? Well, because first of all, Dallas knows they can't run the ball. We learned this in week 6 last year. Since week 6 on, Dallas went passive because they can't run. They don't have a sustaining rushing attack. And Marshawn Lattimore on a hammy, probably not going to play. And if he does, he's very limited. And they'll move CD Lamb into the slot. Huge mismatch there. Goff, I think they can run the ball. I think they're going to run the ball in Tampa Bay too. That's the problem. Problem is that in last week, Goff was, for fantasy, not so good. They can run. And that's the problem. Going to be one of the things for Goff that we didn't consider is between Montgomery and Gibbs, if they run the ball a lot, guess who's not getting it done? Passing game. J-Mo got it done. St. Brown and Laporta did very little. So I think with at least we know in Dallas, they're going to pass. So that's the big difference. Dallas passes the ball and Detroit's balanced. OG Bobby, Charbonnet. I have Ford slightly ahead of Charbonnet. I think Ford's a little more involved as a receiver. I got them right next to each other in my rankings. So Ford has the slightest of edges. Trust your gut. X, maybe I answered this for you already. Zach Moss I went with for the floor. Hey, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown here. Look. All right. Good morning. Yeah. Who would I play? One running back, receiver flex. Charbonnet, Godwin, Devontae Smith, or Brian Robinson. So you need 1, 1, and 1. I'd bench Brian Robinson out of that group. Robinson will split a little more work than Charbonnet. The spread offense probably helps him. Godwin and Devontae Smith are both in very, very solid spots here. And we got OBJ here. Man, we follow up Amon-Ra St. Brown with OBJ. Look at this. Love it. Robinson, Pickens, or Pollard. That's a good question, right? Robinson's a decent play, and Pollard Evans my 19th running back this week. I do like Tony Pollard. He looked really good last week. The offensive line is a little better run blocking than I thought they'd be. Pickens is your boom or bust play because I really have concerns that last week we saw Patrick Surtain pretty much shadow DK Metcalf, and if he does have the Pickens, Justin Fields isn't going to have windows to throw to, and that could be a problem. Couple inactives. Let's see what we got here. We knew that the Lions beat out Marcus Davenport, who Enos Rakestraw, one of their corners, is out. Give them one of here's a little depth there. Giants, no major stories here. Cowboys, we knew Jake Ferguson was out, so nothing different there. Baltimore, we knew the third corner, Nate Wiggins, the rookie, he is out. We knew Antoine Winfield of the Bucs is on, going to miss some time. Right tackle Luka Decky's out. Nothing else new here. Patriots, nothing special. And their left guards, Slidey Sow is out. Missed last week as well. Raiders, Dylan Laube is a scratch again, so it looks like Alexander Madison is your passing down back. If they trail, he's a very good PPR play this week. In theory, of course. We knew Kenneth Walker would be inactive. He was doubtful. He is definitely inactive here. Their rusher, Uchenna Nwosu, who's very good. He is out. I believe he missed last week as well. Chargers continue to deactivate Kimani Vidal. So if you're hanging on to him on rosters, you're just in the hopes that maybe Dobbins misses time. Josh Palmer is active as expected. And NFL's Ian Rappaport's reporting Jordan Love is targeting a week 5 return. All right, so there we have that. And I think we're caught up. Marshawn Lloyd is expected to play. Commanders, nothing special there. Jamison Williams is active. 49ers, Hufanga is expected. Their safety isn't ready yet. Close though. All right, we're back. All right. James, Najee or Monty? It's a tough call here, right, too. I have Monty as my 18. Where do I have Najee? Let's see where I have Najee exactly. I have Najee as my 27. I think that we're going to see a little more involvement this week from Warren, a little bit more. Monty, it should be a high-scoring game. Tampa Bay's without a defensive end in this game. I do think Monty gets a little bit higher of a floor here. Najee's higher ceiling, though. Najee could get going as the boom-bust play. If you want the safe floor, it's Monty. If you want the boom-bust play, it's Najee. Steve, more on you as well. You need a PPR. You need a flex and a receiver. Pickens, Warren, Mooney, Kirk, Flowers. Even though I said Pickens is a tougher matchup here, based on your other options, I'm going to lean toward him. I think Pickens is I'm going to call Pickens a boom bust. And if you want a safer floor, Zay Flowers would give you that safer floor. Or if you want to go that way, I would trust Christian Kirk a little bit here. They are playing Jacksonville, but I do think the slot would be more of a favorable matchup than the outsides against their pressure. So I'm going to go with, again, Warren. I want to see, like I said, he might get a little more work, but I still want to see him fully come in and play a good game after the hamstring injury he had. So again, Kirk in, Flowers is your floor play. Pickens is your boom bust over Flowers if you want to go that route. Nathan, Jamison Williams 1, Kirk 2, Smith and Jigba 3, Ridley 4 and Cooks 5. Pamela, Rashi Rice or Josh Jacobs. So with Marquise Browning now done for the year, but missing last week, his target share is going to be really, really high. And Cam Taylor Britt and Cincy corners, they don't worry me at all. Rashi Rice played a lot of slot last week too. Mike Hilton, great slot corner, not Rashi Rice type. That's going to go to Rice. They both have good workloads here. Jacobs, I expect Indy to load the box and say, Malik Willis, we don't think he can beat us. So for that reason, I'm going to give Rashi Rice the edge here. I get it that Jacobs is a centerpiece of their offense, but I really have concerns about how the defense approached them. Patriots D or the Jags D? Yeah, that's a good question here because Deshaun Watson doesn't look very good. And for that reason, I'm probably going to go with the Jags defense here because, yeah, Deshaun might give the ball away. Take some sacks, too. All right. Next one, full PPR, flex one, Javante, Jaleel McLaughlin, Palmer, JSN. I like Justin Hills. I like Jackson, Smith, and Jigba over this group. Again, the heavy slot usage last week. They didn't get things going, and this week they should be able to get things going on the slot through the air. I do think that in this particular matchup for Seattle, I think that we're going to see a very good opportunity against New England. That's probably the best place to attack them, and I think they do. You might want to avoid Christian Gonzalez on the outside when you can. Steve, thank you, Steve. Appreciate it. Hit the like and subscribe button. We at RotoWire would definitely appreciate it. We love everybody. Thank you. John, Texans D or the 49ers D? I'd go with the 49ers here. Jordan Addison's out, and still Sam Darnold. He looked good in week 1, but whereas the Texans play the Bears, I know they got stud corner, but I think the Bears are able to get enough done to not turn the ball over a lot. So I'm going to go with the 49ers, thinking that Nick Bosa creates a little more havoc here. It's close. Steve, PPR, need a running back at a flex. Injuries, no doubt. Madison, Mooney, Warren. I'm going to go Madison here. The books say that double-digit favorite, the Ravens, and that means the Raiders are probably going to have to pass. Madison over 60% snaps, 6 targets last week. I think he's heavily targeted again this week. I think he's a great option here. Mooney, I guess I need to see that offense be functional a bit. Warren, I need to see him get a close to normal workload, which I haven't seen yet. KJ Frederick, morning to you as well. You have Mason. Should you drop right for Garendo next waivers? It's a good hedge. Because if Mason misses time, you really want access to that 49ers backfield. Whereas Jalen Wright, and I don't know if last week was any indication, but they certainly could have gotten him involved, and they really didn't. And that was a game where Jeff Wilson got dinged up. So, yeah, I would probably do that. But a lot of people wouldn't do that because a lot of people think Jalen Wright's going to be like a superstar, and maybe he is. But based on the small sample size we saw, maybe not so. He's going to need running backs to go down, maybe more than Mostert. And so I'm going to go. I would say I understand why you want that 49ers backfield at all costs. So I get it. All right. Joey, Tank Dell, Lad McConkey, Zay Flowers, start 2 full PPR. I'm going to go with Flowers and Dell here. I'm going to go with the 2 established players that are going to have probably a high floor of targets. McConkey, if somehow the Chargers get out to a lead on Carolina, they might not need to funnel the ball through the passing game a whole lot. So I'm just going to go with the 2 more established options here. If I thought the Chargers were in a game that could shoot out, I'd lean more toward McConkey. I think this could be a lower scoring game as well. CW, Flex PPR, Chase Brown or Adonai Mitchell. Yeah, so Adonai Mitchell, it was really the Downs. Do we know if Downs is playing yet? Let me see if Marshawn Lattimore inactive for the Saints. I'm going through any new news I didn't go through, which is big for Dallas and Dak Prescott. Nothing special in the Carolina inactives. Jordan Addison, as we know, is out for the Vikings. We knew that. Nothing new there. And all right, so Mitchell, I'm trying to say that. I wonder if that's a late game. No, it's got to be an early game. I haven't seen any report, but that said, I think it's going to be very difficult for Adonai Mitchell to see enough targets to trust him, especially when we saw Alec Pierce get going last week. I think Pittman had 8 targets as well. Chase Brown didn't get enough work, but I think there is enough, and I do think they're going to get him a little more involved this week. I would trust the floor of Brown over the floor of Mitchell, and I would go with him because I really don't know what Mitchell's upside is at this point, especially guys with Ashland Doolin putting in long touchdowns, right? Jordan, you got a question. Ford over Najee. I got a Najee a little bit ahead in the rankings. No, I don't. I have 4 to 20. I have 4 to 21. Najee at 27. So yeah, I do. Ford should have a higher floor than Najee. I do think Najee has boom bust potential where he could have opportunity to have a big game. I don't project it, which is why I have him lower, but I think opportunity could be where he does better than expected because this is probably a low scoring game. They lean on the running game. Ford is safer. And Ford does have that role in the passing games. That's why I favor Ford over Najee. But Najee be your boom bust play. Master J3, Pickens or Lockett. Oh, man, it's a tough one. Because Pickens, like I said last week, Surtain pretty much shadowed Metcalf. If that happens, there's not going to be windows for Fields to throw to. And that could be a little nervous. Here, Josh Downs is inactive. Just came up. I just saw this now. So that makes back to the question I asked for CW with Adonai Mitchell, at least that gets him on the field some, but I still stick to Chase Brown here. So back to at Master J3, Pickens and Lockett. So Lockett has a better matchup with DK Metcalf, but Smith and Jigba has the best matchup. Lockett had good amount of targets last week, so he should have a decent floor. Lockett is probably your safe floor play, but Pickens is your boom bust because even with Surtain on him, Pickens could take one to the house at any time. You drafted him for that, right? So Lockett's your floor play, but Pickens could break that big play or two, right? So I think that's it's dangerous to sit Pickens. It's dangerous because of the upside, but if you want super safe, then you go Lockett. Big Meech, Ford or Kamara. Oh man, I think that's the point where I like Ford, but Kamara, the Dallas matchup, I think they're gonna have to throw to their running backs here. I think Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence get after Derek Carr, and I think Carr's gonna freak. And I think what we saw last year, dumping the ball off. I think Kamara could see a lot of targets here, so I'm gonna go with Kamara. Kevin, need 3. Pollard, Moore, Kirk, Hopkins, Monty, Garrett Wilson. All right, Garrett Wilson may not have had a great week 1, but again, he should be fine against Tennessee. And I'm not scared at all about L'Jarius. He's a good corner, but not Garrett Wilson. So Garrett Wilson can get open against anybody. So Garrett Wilson's in. DJ Moore, probably no Keenan Allen, if not very limited. We know Dunze's kind of hurt. I do think Moore's going to continue to see heavy target share. I think he gets open for more yardage this week. For your third one, Montgomery has probably the best floor of the group. I think Pollard could potentially have some real upside here. We saw the Jets really struggle against the run last week, and so Pollard is kind of your boom bust 3. Kirk's in the equation, but right now I think you have other options I like better. Robert, Flowers, Charbonnet. Flowers and Charbonnet are close. Charbonnet has a more bankable floor in this one because, again, if the Ravens get a big lead here, as Vegas indicates, then they might game script him out a bit, and they might try to get Andrews on track too. So I want to give Charbonnet the edge here. Roger, Cooper or Worthy? All right, Cooper had the bad game. Dallas was just brutal last week. Dallas was all over the quarterback, and it just was ugly. This week, it should be much, much better for Amari Cooper. Jacksonville has a good pass rush, but it's not Dallas good. And the top corner is on IR. Why the name evades me. Sorry. And I know exactly who their top corner, but he's out. Their top corner in Jacksonville's on the injured reserve. So, yeah, give me Cooper here pretty easily. Worthy's boom bust, right? He had 3 touches, 2 touchdowns, but that's going to be a tough one to continue, right? Cooper or Robinson, for the same reason, Cooper's going to be much, much better this week. I would expect Cooper to flirt with 80+ yards in this one. I would be surprised if he didn't. He couldn't. Anything could happen, right? Give Cooper the edge. Scott. All right, PPR flex, Pickens or Brian Thomas Jr. Just as much as you're worried about Surtain on Pickens, Brian Thomas Jr. on those Cleveland corners, I think they're way better than Brian Thomas Jr. So it's similar. It's similar because of Denzel Ward, who's not a superstar, but I don't think Brian Thomas Jr. is a superstar either. So I think in that case, I still think Pickens in this case would be the better choice here because of the potential to break a big play. I think Brian Thomas Jr. could really come up with a rough one in this one based on the matchup and the pressure I expect that Cleveland will apply this week. Delroy, Tyler Johnson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy was pretty well targeted last week, and I do think this is a good matchup for him. Wandale had the 12 targets. We talked about this. We knew he have a big game, but I think there's less targets this week because there's not going to get the pressure from Washington and make him dump it to the middle. I think it's more of a Malik Neighbors game. And Tyler, I love Tyler Johnson, and I think he's in a great situation. But I think your other players are good enough to go over. I'm going to go with Jerry Jeudy. In terms of Robinson and Johnson, I think Robinson might have a better floor, but I think Johnson might have the boom bust potential because he pretty much took over snaps as soon as McCool went out. And it's really hard to argue with Sean McVay, right? Genius. So I'm going to say Jeudy for sure. Robinson's your floor play. If you want to go boom bust, then it'd be Tyler Johnson, who could go off. But again, we got to see it the second week, right? But Wandale should have a steady floor. You should get 6 or 7 targets instead of the 12 of last week. All right, Larry, thank you very much. 12 team, full PPR, pick 4. Jefferson, Harrison, Neighbors. So 1, 2, 3, you got 5. And I assume it's James. Oh, you got Harrison listed twice. 1, 2, 3. All right. So you're gonna have to come back to me, Larry, and you're gonna maybe you put it down there. So let me see if you changed it. I'll figure it out because that was all right. Upstate Gardening. When I start JSN or Demarcus Robinson. Robinson's a good floor play. He's usually good for like 4 catches, about 40 to 50 yards. Smith and Jigba had a rough week 1. I like his slot matchup this week. He's going to be involved here. Robinson still has a safe floor, very safe floor. I think Smith and Jigba should begin to see more targets. But if you need to be super, super safe, you can go Robinson. Don't make the mistake, though, of everybody thinking that he's going to be in like Nakua's role. That Robinson plays his role. Tyler Johnson probably steps into the Nakua role in terms of what they do, in terms of function. I still going to give Jackson Smith and Jigba the shot here. Despite last week, I think New England could be attacked in the slot. And I'm going to go with the better player here and roll with that. Percent chance Brown starts. Roger, I wish I knew. They said hamstring tightness. It depends how cautious they want to be. Like Kyle Pitts probably had that last week on Wednesday. Then he practiced Thursday and Friday, and he played the full game. I mean, it's true 50-50. It sounds like a cop, but I don't know. It could be like if his tightness is gone, then he's fine. He's a full go. But we don't know. And they're purposely not giving us that information because they don't have to. London or Devontae Smith? Oh, man, that's a good question. Smith played like 71% slot last week. That was beautiful. They getting him in the slot. That's sick. Smith is safer than London. After what we saw last week, he's safer than London. They both have potential upside if A.J. Brown goes down. And they're saying, here's what I'll tell you. Since they play on Monday night, if A.J. Brown is deemed a full go, I'd go London. If A.J. Brown is out, or they even say pregame he's limited, I'd go Devontae Smith because I still think if Brown could be fine. He could be, but we don't know. So that's my answer. All right. Gang weed. All right. In full PPR. DK or Charbonnet in the flex. All right. So DK at Surtain. I don't think Christian Gonzalez is Surtain good. But Charbonnet's have a good floor for you. Charbonnet's going to probably get 15 plus touches. So the floor is very, very good. I don't know how much upside DK has here. DK certainly can make a big play anytime. We know that. But I think Charbonnet is way, way, way safer. So I think I would lean Charbonnet for the safety of it. But, man, if DK Metcalf gets 25 points, you're going to kick yourself. So the boom bust play is DK Metcalf because Charbonnet has a real, real safe floor. But there is merit to starting DK knowing their ceiling, but a lower floor than Charbonnet. AJ, and then, yeah, you just heard me answer about AJ Brown. I wish I had the answer to that. Big Beach, appreciate you, man. Appreciate it. It's so nice of you. All right, good. I think you fixed that one, Larry. Thank you. Oh, good. Jefferson, Godwin, Neighbors, Harrison, JMO, and you need 4. You know what? Jefferson, you can't sit. Godwin, they're running a Ram style offense. Literally, they were doing the stacks and they were like free releases. It was beautiful. I'm going to go Godwin here. Neighbors, I think, has a potential to go off here. I'm going to give Jamison Williams the edge over Harrison as Harrison works with. The matchup is great for Harrison, and you drafted him with like a first or second round pick, I should say, and it's tough to call. But since you have 4 great options, we got to see what's going on with Harrison. And so it's going to be crazy to say bench him. But you've got 4 good options, and they're all going to get work here. So in this world, I just say go to safe route and take them. If you don't feel comfortable with the one I would sit out of these 5 would be Jamison Williams, because maybe they decide to get Amon-Ra St. Brown back on track after having only 3 catches for 13 yards. And if they do that, maybe they scale back a little bit of work from JMO. I don't know that happens. So you could start Harrison over him. The other 3 I'm locking in. Gin 23. He'll play for you Thursday. Of Evans is your one. Do you flex with Brown's questionable status? Del Romo Dunze's he seems very limited with that knee. Moss or drop Curtis, pick up Sutton, Shaheed, or Palmer. Dell. Dell. Dell would be your answer. Yeah, because Dell's getting targets. It's like all 3 of those were a bunch. Collins, Diggs, and Dell, they were all a bunch. I think Dell actually, of the 3 receivers, may end up being in the best spot this week. Jay, 12-man PPR. Trust AJ Brown or start. I'd start JMO. I would start JMO. Looked great last week. And look, if AJ Brown's inactive, you take the 0, that would be a gut punch. You don't need a gut punch, right? It's risk management, risk tolerance. It's total risk. If you want to take the chance of getting a 0, I would take JMO and just say, I don't want a 0. JMO could have a big game. So Jameson Williams would be the way I would go. Thomas. Nice. I'm glad you won. Congratulations. You did the hard work. I just gave a little bit of input. 2 running backs in a PPR. Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, or J.K. Dobbins. Oh, man, good problem to have here. Charbonnet's my 22. Brian Robinson's my 24. J.K. Dobbins is my 20. So as you asked the question, they're all tightly packed, right? I do think Dobbins has a good game script here, and Derek Brown, the amazing defensive end for the Panthers, out for the season. A poor guy. I love Derek Brown. And Charbonnet should have a more established workload than Robinson. And New England was not very good against the run last week. Maybe that changes, but they weren't very good against the run last week. So I'm going to give them an edge over Brian Robinson. It's close. It's all close on that one. Great question. Would I trade Connor for CMC and Hubbard? Right now, what was the last I heard about CMC? Week 7 or 8? I'm trying to think if I heard that now. Oh, I'm double guessing myself. Let me see if I can find this real quick because I'm clicking through here. McCaffrey out 6 weeks, potentially more. Keep Connor. Unless you have depth. If you have crazy depth and you don't need Connor, Hubbard's going to lose a lot more work when the rookie comes back, Jonathan Brooks. I would keep Connor. That's a long absence. You got to get through the bye weeks too. I wouldn't do it. Kevin, Conklin or Henry? I like Henry this week. I mentioned earlier I got Henry as a top 11 tight end. I do think you could attack Seattle with the tight end. I know that Austin Hooper had a better game than Henry last week. I think that was just one of those things. Henry is a very good receiving tight end, so he still gets open. I think there's an advantage from there. And then I don't think you need to go to the way. And so, yeah, PPR. Yeah, Hunter Henry's my guy there. Full PPR boss, man. Pick one for your flex. Kamara, Ford, Stevenson, Godwin, and Moore. I'm going to go DJ Moore. Elite player. Keenan Allen, I don't think he plays. If he does, he's really limited. Odunze's hurt. We saw that Caleb Williams is not shy to get more of the ball. I think that getting the butterflies out. I think Kamara is super safe here too. You really can't go wrong. Kamara is super safe. If you're worried about DJ Moore because of Caleb Williams, then go with Kamara and just call it a day. But I think DJ Moore will be heavily involved. But again, you know what? Kamara has a better floor, though, than Moore. So I've got to go with that. So the floor does go to Kamara. And if Kamara catches 8 passes, which is possible, let's just switch it. Let's just switch it to Kamara. Take the safe play. All right, Jordy, McMillan, Gus, Andre, Yoshivas. McMillan's probably in a shootout here. Edwards looked bad last week. He looked bad. 2.6 yards per carry, I think it was. Yoshivas, corners are really good in Kansas City. I liked Yoshivas when he was like a number 3 if we had Higgins out there because the coverage would be lighter. But when he sees real coverage, I'm a little bit concerned. McMillan only had the 1 catch, but he played a lot. Edwards has the safest floor of these 3. It's not much, but it's the safest floor. But it's not a tiny floor. So at that point, you risk a 0 with McMillan. But I think McMillan's the only one that has tangible ceiling. So if you want a few points and bank it, you're starting 2. I'd sit Yoshibas. Boss man, pick one to start. Zavante. Oh man, that's a good problem to have. I give DJ Moore the edge here, though. DJ Moore, you heard me talking about a minute ago. He is the guy there. I have DJ as my 13 receiver. I got Devontae as my 19. I got Godwin at 17. They're all again tightly, but I like DJ Moore the best here. He should see a good target share. All right, let's see what we got here. Travis, Gesicki, Musgrave, or Kraft. I got to go Gesicki. Realistically, they're probably going to trail a bit to Kansas City. Middle of the field, they're going to need him. Tanner Hudson's out. That sounds stupid, but Hudson drew targets last week. So Gesicki may just by default see extra targets. He dropped a touchdown last week. I thought he caught it. Replay overturned it. I don't, with the tight ends, Kraft played 96% of the snaps, 25 for Musgrave, but now they got Malik Willis. So yeah, just go Gesicki here. Elliott or Hopkins. I'm going to go with Elliott here. There's a good chance of scoring a touchdown. He sees receptions. Hopkins is still working his way back from injury. He was very limited last week, and I think he's going to be, ramped back up. I don't think he's a full go yet, so go with Elliott. Likely or Kittle? 12 targets last week for Likely. I have to think Mark Andrews gets more involved, but man, Likely has a better floor than Kittle because even if he gets 6 targets and he's great run after the catch, if they get a lead, though, they might run a lot this week. Kittle obviously always has ceiling. I always tell people never bench. If you drafted George Kittle, never bench it, but then you picked up Likely probably they're late in your draft or on waivers. So now you got somebody that you wouldn't have expected to have. Kittle can always have a big game, and really there's nobody on like Harrison Smith ain't keeping up with him anymore. So Likely safer. So there's that. And Likely showed last week he can put a big, I got Kittle ahead in my rankings. So my credo is don't bench George Kittle because 2 big plays and you're like, oh man, what happened here? Use your gut on that one, but I'm going to say Kittle. Atif, half PPR, Burrow, Baker, or Goff. I like Baker. I got Baker as my 10, Goff is my 11. I got Burrow as my 14. Baker and Goff are in a shootout together, but here's the difference. Detroit's lights out against the run, so Baker's going to have to throw all day, whereas Tampa Bay, they're down a defensive end. They're not as good against the run. So Detroit could be more balanced. So Baker probably has to throw more. So I give Baker the edge. All right, Daniel. Oh, nice. Yeah. I know. That means you drafted well, Daniel. It means you drafted well. Lucas. Pick 2, Diggs, AJ Brown, or Worthy. Well, I mean, AJ Brown might not play, right? It's a great question. I think Worthy and Diggs are fine enough plays where you say, you know what? And Worthy only had 3 touches last week. I get it, but they'll get you points. And so that said, you don't want a 0. If you're going, what I would consider, Diggs for sure. If you have a bench spot and you could add Ray McLeod for Monday night, then if Brown's inactive, you could pivot, or even Jahan Dotson. Then I would pivot because I would like to get AJ Brown in the lineup if he's healthy. That's what if you don't have a waiver spot or a bench spot, then just put Worthy in. White, Stevenson, Monty, and Pollard. Why am I drawing a blank on White? Zamir White, Ramondre. All right. Yeah, I got Pollard at 19. I got Monty at 18. I got Stevenson at 17. Oh my God, Rashad White at 60. Yeah, as you can see, they're packed. Here's the thing on those 4. This is Rashad White. Look, probably the shootout there, right? Because that game has the most shootout potential, and Monty's does too. But in the shootout, that doesn't really elevate Monty's numbers. It does elevate the possibility of White because you can't run on Detroit, but you can throw to the running backs on them. So I would tend to go White, Monty, Pollard, and Stevenson. We predicted him last week. I'm not going back. Seattle looked great against the run. And I answered that one already. Prescott over Goff, Brown, Pollard, or McConkey. Oh, man. I'm going to go Pollard here. It should be guaranteed points, and Brown could be a 0. Still take note of the pivot to Ray McLeod if you have a waiver spot, because Brown does access you a ceiling that many players don't. So there's that. But I would give Pollard the edge there otherwise. And if you have no other option, don't take a 0 with Brown if you can't afford it. Nobody can afford a 0. Daniel, maybe roll with Mason and Rashad White. If you had Mason, I didn't even see him in there, but yeah, obviously Mason, I have him in my top 6 running backs. 49er system, it's gold. Nicholas, Pick 2, half PPR, Olave, Ayuk, and Brian Robinson. I do think Olave gets back going. They're going to do some play action and might keep a little bit of the pass rush off. Last week, he didn't see much. It was a weird game. They didn't have to throw him the ball. I do think he's supposed to be schemed up under this new offense at Kubiak. I do think he's going to get targets, 8+. Ayuk, he should be more conditioned than he was last week. Robinson's a nice floor play. I think Olave and Ayuk are heavily in use. So I'm going to roll with them. Foxborough News, 2 running backs, Monty, Eckler, Dowdle, and Hubbard. Monty and Eckler. Dowdle, it's like empty calorie carries, and he doesn't really get many receptions. He probably doesn't see the goal line. Hubbard looked awful last week, and I kind of worried about that. A running back having a good last year, although he's an ordinary back. Chargers probably going to stack the box up because I don't think they respect their passing game, so that could make it tougher. So Monty and Eckler. All right, Kid Trickster, Charbonnet or Dobbins? I know. That's a tough one there. Where I have J.K. Dobbins at 20. I got Charbonnet at 22 as you. I have them very, very close. I do think Dobbins' matchup is so good that you probably got to keep him like where I am, just slightly ahead of Charbonnet. They both have good floors. Charbonnet probably gets more touches, but Dobbins probably does more with his. It's really a coin flip as you see in my rankings, but I will give Dobbins that because he looked so good last week, and that's what we see, and that's all we got to go on, and so I think we roll with it. I think we've answered that for everybody. So we're going Baker in that one. Timbo Slice. Brandon Cooks or George Pickens. All right. Cooks did have 7 targets last week, and there's that. And Marshawn Lattimore's out, and Cooks plays on the outside. Paulson Debo's the other corner, more of a physical guy. Cooks a little more of a elusive one, so that's probably a good matchup for him. I don't know that Cooks gets it done a second week in a row. He could. Pickens, he has a tough corner matchup. Most likely, he'll probably see a lot of oh my God, Patrick Surtain, as we saw from last week when he mostly shadowed DK. I don't think Cooks is the level of player that you bench Pickens. And so for that reason, I'm going Pickens. I understand Cooks could have a better game. Pickens has more potential for upside. And I think you'd kick yourself if Pickens got that 70-yard touchdown and then you were kind of sitting him on the bench. Big Meech, is it worth keeping Seattle and KC defense on roster? Defenses are so fickle. They could have a great matchup and do nothing. I see it all the time. And it's on your roster. If you're like getting rid of a good player for that, then probably not. If you have the flexibility in your roster and there's like an empty spot where you really don't have anything you're worried about, you definitely could do that. You can play the game because points are points, and obviously you're smart. You're thinking ahead on how to maximize your league. So again, if you don't have a roster spot that like you give you a good player, just go with one defense, keep KC and just roll with them. So that's the way I'd look at that. All right, Caruso kids, pick one for Madison, Hubbard, Javante. Again, Javante got a bad shake last week. He started out really good. They were rotating back so much. But this week, I really think that when Denver's going to see that pass rush from Pittsburgh from Watt and Highsmith, I think they're going to dump the ball off a lot this week. Madison's going to see a lot too. I think Javante's going to see a lot. And both running backs in Denver, they're going to see a lot of dump offs. And as much as I like Madison in a 10-point underdog role after 6 targets last week, I'm going to give Javante the edge. He did look good in the beginning of that game. It's just Seattle's run defense is way better than anybody expected. I probably answered this one already. The answer was no on that one. Alex. Yep, there you go, man. There you go, Alex, for sure. Yeah, absolutely, Alex. Couldn't agree with you more. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see here. All right, question-wise. I guess somebody spammed. Oh, all right. I think we're at the point we got to do rapid fire because I am out at 45 past the hour. So at this point, we've got a lightning round through. Let me make sure I didn't miss any questions. Let me see. All right. Yeah. So we're going to rapid fire through these. You probably heard the analysis on most of the players you're asking, but the only way I can answer your questions in 30 minutes is to give you a quicker answer. So we are going with Ford as your top play on that for the floor. Jameson Williams here because the potential for ceiling. Jim, I am going with Olave here. I do think the play action will work and get him freed up. They'll need him this week. They should trail. Kevin, you need 2 Mooney in case. All right, good. Yeah, it's good. You got Mooney. That's what I would do. So keep Brown in there and then flip to Mooney. And then your other play, you know what? Judy's getting targets. And I would go with Judy for that capacity right now because I do think they can make those throws. Zach Moss or Wandale. Wandale won't see the targets last week. So Zach Moss is a better. No, you know what? PPR. I'm going Wandale. So I'm still going Wandale. Yeah, I'm going Wandale. I think Wandale's going to get you 5 or 6 catches here. Eric. I'll answer him, Coven. Yes, answer. Thank you. Tyler. Oh, Tyler, is that not helping me? Tyler Johnson probably mean. I'm gonna go Smith and Jigba here. I know he only had a couple targets last week. He's had a good slot matchup this week. Let's see here. Potato. What I say, Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers? Georgina Smith. You probably mean I don't know why I'm Geno Smith. I think you mean Geno Smith here. Okay. I like Aaron Rodgers. Derek Carr's been under pressure this week. And last week he wasn't under pressure. We saw what happened. Beautiful. When he's under pressure, it's a problem. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers here. I think New England can limit the passing attack a bit for Geno. Pickens or DeMarcus Robinson. You'd kick yourself if Pickens went off on your bench over Robinson. Robinson has a decent floor. I'm going to go Pickens. Rob, Fields, Stafford or Mayfield or Jones. I do have Stafford rated as my top quarterback in the group. Fields could go off on the ground. I didn't like his rushing output last night. He had the rushing output, but not the yards. Stafford is probably safest floor ceiling. Mayfield's a great play. If you want to shoot for the moon, Fields could have a long run and make your day. Stafford's the safest, just over Mayfield. Mo. I'm going with JSN there. Again, I think the slot will work out for him this week. Trying to decide, do I take Mahomes or Gibbs? Honestly, what side of this? Man, that's a 50-50. That's a 50-50. It's a dead even trade. Flowers or Singletary or DK. Don't like DK's matchup. Flowers is a better floor. Flowers is your floor play. DK is your boom bust play if you want to shoot for ceiling because he could break something off here. Thomas, Swift, Metcalf can leak Allen out of this one. Swift is your floor play. DK is your boom bust if you want to shoot for upside but a lower floor. Swift should get some volume this week. Think I answer that. You know what? Crazy enough, White's a starter. I'm going to go with Madison. The point spread's over 10. That means the passing down back, and Madison has 60% of the staff. I'm going Madison. London or Olave. Oh, wow, that's a tough one. That's super tough. I am giving London the edge here. They have to get him maximized here. Olave, I like his match, but the Dallas pass rush could be a real problem for Derek Carr. Bowers or Ingram. Wow, man, you got a good team here. I have Ingram a little bit ahead of Bowers. I do think they're going to have to, against Cleveland, they're going to have to use the tight end, and one of their safeties is on the injured list. So I'm going to go to Ingram here. What if I have yeah, so you know what? Smith and Jigba, I would start him instead of taking a 0 on AJ Brown. Willis or Brissett? I'm going to go Brissett here. Willis, from what I've seen, now could it change? Yes. He just looks like he can't play in the NFL. Brissett can. I'm going to go with Brissett here. Again, Willis is a complete unknown. Maybe he runs, maybe he breaks a run, but I haven't seen it yet. All right, flex spot. I think Wan'Dale Robinson has the best floor of this group. I'm going to go with Wan'Dale because of the potential for 5 catches in this game. Singletary, I think that interior matchup against Washington's a little tougher. I think with Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, that can make it tough for him. Elliott or Charbonnet? I got to go with Charbonnet here. More guaranteed volume. I think that's what I like. I'll go with the volume. Medina, Robinson, Charbonnet, Aaron Jones, or Josh Jacobs. I'm going with Jones for sure. I know 49ers are tough, but Jones can catch the ball too. Charbonnet and Jacobs are both going to get volume here, and I know the Indy may stack the box on Jacobs. I think Jacobs is more likely to score a touchdown if the Packers score right. I'm going to go Jones. Go with the best players here. Albert, Dak, or Lamar. I can't sit Lamar. I have him as my quarterback 3. Certainly you could go with the Dak CD stack. Lamar's running ability, my God, he looks so good in week 1. And I can see him running again, especially if Trey Hendrick and actually if Max Crosby is coming after him. He might just take off and burn him. So it's very hard to sit Lamar because of that rushing floor. But again, you can't go wrong. Dak Prescott's an awesome. You have him as like quarterback 6. So if you want to stack him, go with your gut on that. Daniels for Brian. Should you trade Daniels for Brian Thomas and see what if you have another quarterback who you start every week, then I would always trade a second quarterback. If Daniels is your starter, then no. But if again, if he's your second quarterback, cool to get something in return. I think you can get more, but maybe you can't. Hard to trade quarterbacks in single quarterback league. So yeah. All right. Devontae, Pittman, Rice, Coleman, Adonai Mitchell. I would go Rice, Devontae, Pittman. Those would be the 3 I'd order them in. Ingram. I'm going to go with Ingram here. Parkinson is always the coolest replacement of Tyler Johnson. But if you have your gut calling it, trust your gut. There's no reason to not trust your gut. If you got a feel on it, you're smart. You know your fantasy. You know you're looking at me for a question, but you know your stuff. So if you feel that way, then trust it. But I'm going to say, even with Tyler Higbee, whenever we thought he was getting targets, they would all of a sudden come and go. I think the tight end is just like it's not an automatic part of the game plan. I think when it works, it works. When it doesn't, it doesn't. Ingram, I do like his matchup this week because I think the receivers are going to have a real tough go for Jacksonville. All right. So do you trade Harrison for Jones and Reed? Oh yeah. If you can make that trade, yeah. If you're getting 2 starting players and Harrison, I think Harrison's a 1,000-yard player. I don't think he's a 12 or 1,300-yard player. Whereas I think Jaden Reed is close. You get you 900, 1,000 yards, and Aaron Jones. Yeah, I think you make that trade. Reed or Wandale. I think you're going to gadget up Reed, and it's going to be good. I trust Reed more. Reed's a star, and I think he finds a way to get it done. Pacheco, why? So we're going to go with Mason. Oh, man. Oh, my gosh. That's a tough one. I got Pacheco as my 7. I got Mason as my 6. I got Kamara as my 14. And I got Kyron as my 8. So the one who's out is Kamara. Yeah, Pacheco's going to be fine here because since he cannot stop the run, I'm going to go with the 3 high-ranked ones. Yeah, it's hard to sit any of them. You got a great, great, great team. All right, happy Sunday to you as well, Endorphins. AJ Brown if he plays or Mooney tomorrow. Just start Worthy today. You know what? I would do the AJ Brown Mooney thing. Worthy had 3 touches. I know 2 of them were touchdowns, and it's really hard to get. But the touchdown was a broken coverage. Marlon Humphrey passed him off to nobody. And he kind of walked down the field. The end around was a perfectly blocked play. Worthy speed's incredible. But I mean, the blocking was like insane. So I don't think there's enough volume there. All right, let's see what we got here. Mega Brick. Purdy or Goff? You know what? I am going to go Goff. It should be a shoot. I got Purdy right behind him in the rankings. But Purdy's like a floor play all the time. Goff has floor, but he has ceiling as well. So I'm gonna go with that route. Jaden Reed or JMO? I'm going with JMO. Jaden Reed's less than 100% here. JMO looks to be a real part of stuff. And I know JMO is nicked up too, but he looks finishing up in the playoffs last year. He looks like he's really like online to do some damage. And if Malik Willis, that's enough to downgrade. Best 3 DST: Raiders against Carolina, Packers against Tennessee, Bengals, Washington Chargers, Pittsburgh. We're going to go with the Raiders. Max Crosby should be able to really, really do some damage there. Spillane blitzing from the linebacker spot a bit as well. I think they can take away that short area that Bryce Young wants to throw to too. So I'm going to go with the Raiders on that one. Etienne and Waddle or Kamara and Devontae Smith. Because of the Tua uncertainty, and if they have to go to Skylar Thompson, it's going to tank their game. I'd go Kamara and Devontae Smith just on the uncertainty that if Tua's not around, it's going to hurt that offense. Elijah, answer that one for you already. All right, per DK, PPR. DK, Dell, Neighbors, pick one. I'm going with Neighbors. I think Neighbors has a super easy matchup this week. And last week in a tough matchup, he still did well. We are going with Moore and Pittman here. Pittman had 8 targets last week. It didn't work out great, but he is getting targeted. Even if Jair is on him. Jair is small. Pittman's huge. I think we're good there. Charbonnet's going to get a lot of volume, but I think Pittman and Moore do as well. We're going neighbors there. We're going neighbors. Neighbors clear to the knee, completely clear to the knee. Connor or Kamara? Oh man, anytime I get a James Conner question, I can't say no to that one. I have him as my 14 and my 15 running backs. Connor, Kamara. If Connor's under a ton of pressure, Kamara could see a lot of dump offs, and then that would put him over the top. Connor is the bell cow there, and Connor's going to get a lot of work. That should be a shootout. I have them ranked side by side. I do give Kamara the slightest of edges. It's a coin flip. And my ranking says Kamara because I think the dump offs come. Brian Upton, Swift, Singletary, Cooks, Kirk, and thank you for hitting the like button. Appreciate that. All right, so we're gonna think Kirk in the slot gets a little bit of a bounce back over this group of players. Singletary, I don't like against those defensive tackles of Washington. I'm gonna go with Swift as a second. I still think Cooks. It might not be the best matchup in the world for me with Lattimore out. If he's on the Adebo side at times, Paulson Adebo, that's not a good matchup. Kirk should get back going. Swift should get involved as a runner and receiver here. I'm gonna go with those two. Big Brew. All right, what do you got here? 1 point for 15 yards receiving, 1 point for 10 yards rushing. London, Metcalf, Singletary. Metcalf probably gets locked up a good deal on Christian Gonzalez. Don't really like that. I'm going to give London the edge here. I just said about Singletary. I don't like them facing the tackles of the Commanders. Ford, McConkey, or Calvin Ridley. Ford has a really good floor. I like him here. Ridley has a nasty matchup with the corners. I'm going to give McConkey a slight edge over Ridley, but I probably have Ridley ranked higher. I probably do have Ridley. I have McConkey at 31. Where do I have Ridley at? No, maybe I don't have Ridley close. Can't find him. He's on here somewhere, but I do. No, I'm going to go with McConkey there. Sleek, Gus Bus, Hubbard, or Singletary. I've been off Singletary, but in this matchup, I'm on Singletary because he gets a couple targets. Gus probably isn't. Hubbard looked awful last week, and Sanders cut into the workload. And I think that the Chargers overstacked the box because they don't trust the quarterback. Oh man, Evans or Jordan Mason. Oh man, you know what? Look, you can't go wrong here, right? Mason has guaranteed volume. Mason is getting 15 to 18 touches, so his floor is always going to be safer than what Evans could be. Evans should be in a shootout. Evans should have a massive advantage. Evans has massive upside. Now, Mason had a massive game last week, so it's really tough here. Mason is safer. Mason's safer. So if you want the safest play of the two, it's Mason. Can Evans get 150 yards with 2 touchdowns? Yes, he can. There's that. So as long as you understand that risk, Evans is your high upside play. Not that Mason doesn't have similar upside, but Mason has a much higher floor because of the way the 49ers conduct business. Miggy, Rashad White or Charbonnet? Oh, man. White's going to have to get done as a receiver because Detroit's lights out against the run. Charbonnet is going to get a lot of volume, and New England gave up a lot on the ground last week. They weren't very good. I'm giving Charbonnet the floor edge because he'll get more volume, I believe. White, if you're in a PPR especially, that receiving gives you a higher ceiling. Safest is Charbonnet. If you want to risk some floor for a higher ceiling, then you go with White. Lockett or Reed? Julian, I'm going Reed. And I believe they're going to gadget him up and get him the ball in a lot of different ways. I think he's going to be a priority. He's one of the only cheat codes they have with no real quarterback. ETN or Mike Evans? I'm going Mike Evans. They've been looking to limit ETN's workload since he's been there. He split carries, not snaps. He dominated snaps, but 12 carries for each running back last week. I'm going to go with Evans, and Evans pretty strong here. I can sit Mason, Cup and St. Brown's. I don't understand that part of the question. I don't know AK is. You have to re-ask that maybe. Dustin and Tori, good day, good luck. Thank you. Flexman, Diggs, Olave, Charbonnet, Ford. I do think Olave gets back in the column with 8+ targets, and when he gets 8 targets, he's usually very good. Dallas Pastors will be there. They'll use play action. I do like Olave here. Charbonnet is probably your safest floor of them all because he probably gets the 18 touches here. And Ford also is, I am just ahead of Charbonnet. So he's involved there. So Ford and Charbonnet are pretty similar, but I think Charbonnet actually probably gets a couple more touches. Olave is the player I would start because I believe he gets going this week. He is an elite player in my mind. Jacobs or Dobbins? Oh, man. Jacobs is going to get more volume. I think the box gets stacked heavily against him, though. Dobbins is a fantastic matchup. I think you almost kick yourself if Jacobs gets going here. If he breaks a couple big runs, even with Indy playing it tight, I'm giving, and in my rankings, I'll tell you where I got him. I got to have Dobbins ahead, right? Let me see where I have him. Try to find where I'm at. Dobbins at 20. Try to find where I have Jacobs here. And, oh, why I'm not seeing things. I got to have Jacobs. Jacobs at 13. Yeah, I got Jacobs ahead of him. I got to trust that Jacobs is just a better player and get something done here. Jones or Minshew? Man, Jones has a super easy matchup, and Minshew probably trails, though. Wiggins, the third corner's out. I think Jones is going to get the ball to Neighbors. I'm going to go Jones here. Oh, my gosh, that's tough. Charbonnet, Pollard, or Dobbins? Pollard at 19. That's a tough call here, too. Dobbins at 20. Got them right next to each other. And Charbonnet at 22. I got them all packed. I do have Pollard ahead for a reason, though. He looked explosive last week. Give me Pollard there. Burrow. I'm going with Goff here. Burrow could be in real trouble. No, the T. Higgins being out hurts. And, man, Kansas City's a lead on defense. Goff should be in a shootout. Godwin, Debo, Connor, need 2. I love them all. Love them all. Godwin should be in a shootout here. They're using a Ram-style offense, which is beautiful for him. Connor has a high floor, though. Debo had a lot of work last week. And now with Ayuk back in the fold, he's so hard to sit because he's a superstar. But the workload is really big, and it's a short week for him. You can't go wrong here is the first thing I'll tell you. I do think Connor in his shootout has the highest floor. In terms of Godwin and Debo, I think the shootout nature of that game leads me to Godwin. But it's if your gut says Debo because Debo's your guy, it's really hard to sit him because he's a superstar. So in that case, I would play him over Godwin. So be careful with that. But in terms of the shootout and potential in the Lions, I think Godwin comes through here for you. JMO, Lad, or JSN. You know what? JMO with me is a real deal. I'm going to have to see him have a bad game now because they really are utilizing his speed. And the defensive matchup is beautiful for him. Alex, Shaheed, or Wandale. I think the Dallas pass rush is going to mitigate a long passing game. So I'm going to go Wandale here. Brendan, A.J. Brown, whenever you sit him and play Charbonnet and Monty, stick with A.J. Brown. You know what? If you don't have any other options in the Monday night game, you can't take a 0. Charbonnet and Monty are going to get you points. You almost got to do it. If there's a way you could flex, you add Ray McLeod to your bench from the Falcons, and then in that case, I would sit Charbonnet and then go with either A.J. Brown if he plays or McLeod. But otherwise, you got to start your running backs. Full PPR. Do you start Charbonnet or Nico? I got to go Nico Collins. You got to go with the superstar. I know Jalen Johnson, but Nico Collins is an elite superstar player. You'll kick yourself if he goes 6 for 180 and a touchdown. You can't. I just can't endorse the sit there. I get Charbonnet's floor. I get it. I can't do it. Earthling, Pittman, Robinson, Williams, 2 receivers and a flex. Pittman, Robinson, Williams, Bijan, White, A.J. Brown. You have good enough players where you don't have to risk it with A.J. Brown. So Bijan for sure. I'm trying to see your 2 running backs. You got your 2 running backs. So the way I'm reading this, you need to sit 1 player. And based on this, I'm sitting A.J. Brown because I can't risk a 0. Because it looks like 2 running backs in a flex and your 2 running backs. So you look like you're covered. Yes. Joker, Zamir or Wandale. You know what? Zamir had, I can't remember the snap share, 37% last week. He had 13 carries, but if they fall behind, it looks like Madison's the passing down back. I got to go with Wandale. If you're trusting that Baltimore wins big, I think White gets game scripted out. Pittman or Connor? Wow, tough call here. Pittman had 8 targets last week. Connor's safer. He's going to get a lot of work. He gets receptions too. I'm giving Connor the edge here. And I think I answered that one for you already. Delroy, 3, Dobbins, Wandale, Jacoby, Rashad, ETN, Javante. I'm going to go Rashad because he'll catch passes, ETN because he's a star. And then the third one, I'm going to give Dobbins the edge over Javante. I do like Javante this week, but Dobbins is a great matchup. Derek Brown, the legendary stud defensive end, best defensive player in the Panthers, is out, and that's going to hurt them. I'm going to go with those. G-Money. Ridley, I'm going to go with J-Mo. Ridley has a bad matchup, and so does Brian Thomas. I don't look at the cornerback matchups for either of those. Jameson Williams, to me, is an emerging star. Jones or Lawrence, oh, man. You know what, Brent, I know. This is a tough one. I honestly, Trevor Lawrence against Cleveland with that pass rush and those 3 corners, and Lawrence rarely, going back to last year, throws more than 1 touchdown. I think Daniel Jones gets him in the end zone. I think, yeah, I'm going to go – oh God. And I got Lawrence ranked way higher because I can't rank Daniel Jones because he's just awful. Like the worst thing I could imagine a quarterback other than like Malik Willis. But I think for fantasy, and my rankings aren't going to reflect this, but I think Daniel Jones probably has a better chance of doing well than Lawrence. I got Lawrence as my 19 and Jones is my 24. But if it's my team, I'm taking the shot on Jones and seeing what happens. McLaughlin or Chase Brown? That's tough. G-Money, that's tough. I'm going to give McLaughlin the edge. He was more involved than Chase Brown was last week, and until I see otherwise, I got to roll that way. Brown's your boom bust guy, because if they get him involved, he could make some stuff happen. They didn't show it. Oh, I might have a question here on the super chat. Hang on. All right, let's see what we got here. Randy, what do you got here? You wanted to jump in line, say everything, hurt himself in warm-ups and is out. Oh my gosh. And AJ Brown downgraded to out for Monday. Oh my gosh, Randy, thank you for adding that in. Obviously, everybody had those questions. I'm just seeing this now. So Evan Ingram is out. Get him out of your lines. Randy, thank you for saving the day here. And AJ Brown is out. So all those questions, get players in today's lineup. I got 10 minutes on this show, and then I got to get back and change my lineups to reflect that. All right. And Randy, thank you so much. Kyle. All right. Good to see you, man. Ford or ETN? I'm going ETN. Appreciate you very much. And I am going ETN. I'm going to go with the better player here. I have ETN ranked as a top 12 running back. Ford, I have Ford around 21. ETN could break a play. Ford needs stuff to go his way to happen. And then Noah, Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, you know what? I just really was scared of that offense for last week. They threw it one deep shot, but everything instead of running backs and the tight ends. Although Brian Thomas is facing some really tough corners, I'm going to give Brian Thomas Jr. the edge because I just don't know that they're going to weaponize McLaurin just yet. That's all we got to go on. It's a great question. All right, see where we're at here. All right, let me see how I'm doing question-wise. All right, well, find my spot here. Oh, man, I'm hoping I don't miss. AJ Brown, where we sit him. See where we're at. I got another one of the super chats. Fabian, you got a super chat question. Zeke Elliott, DeMarcus, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Brandon Cooks or Javante Williams? Let me go back here and click this on here. All right, so Jackson Smith-Njigba would be in for me because I do believe he can attack the slot with New England, and he was a heavy snap share there last week. Zeke Elliott has a great chance to score, but he's risky. I do think Dallas plays at a lead, and I think he's involved, but he splits. I have Javante Williams reasonably ranked at 23 those week because I think with Pittsburgh's pass rush, he's going to see a lot of dump-off passes. So Jackson Smith-Njigba, DeMarcus Robinson is actually your floor play. He's going to get you 40 to 50 yards. He could score, which would give him higher. And I think that floor is enough to tell me to play him. I think it's going to be the floor of Robinson and then Smith-Njigba. I think they have the best floor-ceiling combos. Elliott could find the end zone, but I don't think it's enough to move him out. All right, what else we got here? And then Danielle, Purdy or Fields. So I have Purdy as my quarterback 12, Fields is my 13. So it's obviously a great question. Purdy's your floor play, but I think Fields is a floor too because he's going to run. And I think against Denver, he has to run. I think that rushing ability, even though I have them like next to each other in the rankings, I think Fields gives you more upside because if he breaks one run, which is always strongly in the realm, then I think that's the way you look at it. So I think even though I have them side by side, I think Fields gives you a little more upside. If you want a super safe play, though, it would be Purdy, but I think I would definitely go with option of the upside of Fields. All right, let's see if I can find where I was at question-wise. I had G-Money. I think this is where G-Money, I left off here. All right, I got to zip these. I got 8 minutes, and I hope I get through as many as I can. I'm sorry I can't go longer. All right. Myers, White, or JSN? I am going JSN here. I'm just going to have to answer these. Otherwise, happy our pick 2. I am going with Metcalf and Harrison. Romy Shakir, who played on Thursday night. Ingram's out. I am going with Robinson over these. Dobbins and Ford. I give Dobbins the edge here. I have him one spot ahead of Ford. And then Montgomery, I have ahead of both by a few spots. So I like Montgomery ahead of both. Najee, Aaron Jones, Worthy, or McLaurin. Need 2. I'm going with Jones for sure. Najee for floor. But if you want to go boom bust for upside, it would be Worthy. I'm leaving McLaurin out. Ayuk or Godwin. Very, very, very tough call here. I do have Ayuk a couple spots ahead of Godwin. I expect him back to normal. I'll go there. Brian Thomas, I'm going London here. I don't like Thomas's matchup with the corners. Metcalf, Williams, or Mont. I'm going with J-Mo here I'm going with J-Mo. I think J-Mo's going to be heavily involved again. Steve, Warren, or Mooney. Oh, man, I'm going to go with Warren. Right now, Kirk Cousins scares me a little bit. Kevin, Madison, Dobbins, Jacobs, Marcus Robinson, or Moore. I'm going with DJ Moore and Josh Jacobs for the floor and the ceiling combo. Singletary, Dobbins, or Zeke. I am going Dobbins there. Brown is not playing, so I will go with Josh Palmer there. Olave, I think, is much safer. We'll see more targets. April. Hurts, I have as my quarterback too. I don't think I'm scared at all of the Atlanta defense. I love Mayfield this week, but I think Hurts has, even without A.J. Brown, I think he runs a little more. They have Smith. They have Goddard. Goddard will get weaponized a little more. I'm going to go. That's a great question because of A.J. Brown being out. Tone, full PPR, Mason Kyron, Del Ford, or London. I am going with London. I expect him to get back involved. Larry, thank you. Fabian, A.J. Brown is out, so we're going to go with Tank Dell in this one. Najee might have a higher floor. April, Metcalf, Reed, Jefferson, Kirk. Jefferson, this is where I'm going to differentiate this. Metcalf is boom bust as your number. You want to shoot for the ceiling, but there's a lower floor because of the matchup. Otherwise, Reed is safer. So Jefferson, if you want the safe play, Reed. If you want the boom bust, it's going to be Metcalf. Sutton or Gus. I would rate JSN ahead of Sutton and Gus, but if you don't trust him, then you got to go, I believe, it's Sutton here. Gus didn't look good last week. Robinson, Ridley, Ford, McConkey. We are going with Ford. McConkey and Robinson are close. Robinson has a better floor, safer floor. Safer floor is Robinson than Ford. McLaughlin or Reed. I am going with Reed. And then Ingram's out. I would, you know what? Chase Brown probably gets a little more work. I would go JSN over him. But if you hate him, I would give him a shot because they probably trail here. AJ, thank you, Lindorphins. Dr. Roberto, Dobbins, Kirk, Robinson. I go Dobbins 1, Kirk 2, Robinson 3. Thank you, Delroy. I like Madison this week for his PPR in a game they're probably going to lose. I would go with Madison to call it a day. Gesicki, because Tanner Hudson's out, that means extra targets for him probably. Garrett Wilson for sure, Johnny. You know what? Pickens tough matchup. I think Neighbors goes off here. I'm going to go with Neighbors. Josh, I'm going to go with Christian Watson. I think they gadget him up. And your other one, I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. Charbonnet's safer floor. Harrison is boom bust. So base it on that. I'd go the boom bust with Harrison here, though, and leave Charbonnet off. April. The Debo Samuel, I got to go Debo here because Worthy only had 3 touches last week. The touchdowns were great, but the 3 touches, Samuel's going to eat the ball more. I would drop Rico Dowdle, Randy. I don't think he's seen much goal line work. I don't think he's a lot of receiving work. I'm going with Jaden Reed. They're going to gadget him up. My thoughts are Ben, Harrison. I'm going Harrison and Pollard. I don't like Brian Thomas's corner matchups. I'm going with J-Mo there, Ethan. Thank you, Terry. Harrison is more boom bust. He has a higher ceiling, lower floor. Reed's going to be involved. If you want the safe play, go Reed. If you want to shoot for upside but the risk of floor, then go Harrison. I'm going Henry. Cole Kmet had 1 target last week. London or Steve? I'm going with London. Stevenson has a tougher matchup this week than he had last week. Deontay, Mooney, Conklin, or Ertz. Oh, I know they were terrible. Deontay was terrible last week. I don't know that Conklin's getting enough targets, and Ertz did go 3 for 32 last week. I'm still going Deontay. Dell, Harris, and Robinson, but Harris has a better floor than Dell. DJ Moore. April, I think I answered you on that one. We're going Hurts. Michael. I think I said that when earlier was made the same trade. It was a 50-50 complete gut call on that one. They're even trade, dead even. I'm going with Jerome Ford there. I'm going to go Jerome Ford there. I think they both have similar floors. I'm going to go with Zay Flowers here. I'm going to go with Madison here. They probably are falling behind. I'm going to go with Javonte over Zamir because of game script. I would stash McMillan because it's more of a full season play. Palmer 1, Chase Brown 2, Edwards 3. Thank you, Randy. I have Monty at 18 and I have Dobbins at 20, so I have Monty slightly ahead. Mo, appreciate you. McLaurin, JS. I'm going to go with JSN in this one. I'm going with Amari Cooper. He should bounce back this week. Fields for his rushing. J-Mo, I don't like Brian Thomas's matchup. No, he won't overtake Wilson. No, it was no, he's the number 2. It's Garrett Wilson can't be covered. So no, good question. I got like 1 minute and I'm not going to get to all these. So I have one more super chat question and I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to do any more. I got to Joseph asks J.K. Dobbins or Ridley. I'm going with Dobbins here. Ridley's quarterback is a real problem, and I think the matchup against the Jets is brutal. J.K. Dobbins should get us some very good floor, and it's an easier matchup for him. I am sorry those I couldn't get to, but I am completely timed out. So I appreciate you. I'm sorry if I didn't get to your question. Good luck to everybody, and I'll see you next week. Get in earlier if you want those questions answered. If you came in late, you can do the super chat thing and you move to the front of the line too. Everybody, good luck, and I will talk to everybody soon.